So today we will build the phase modulation and phase distortion synth setup. This is what it looks and sounds like. So the main sound source we will use is the new phasor wavetable module from VCV. This is an oscillator that runs with a phase signal or a phasor. So if we look at it on the scope, you can see there is no signal generated because we need to scan or read through it with a phasor. And we can use various signals for this, but for the default shapes, we will use a rising saw that we can easily get with a phasor generator, again from the same collection. It looks like this on the scope. Right, you can see it's nothing but a rising unipolar saw wave. And if we use this, let me zoom in a bit, if we use this to drive or to run the oscillator, you can see we have an oscillation, we have a sine wave. Right, the frequency of the phasor will dictate the frequency of the oscillator. So if I set this to fast, now we get an audio rate signal. And we got a phase oscillator with different shapes. Again, this is a wavetable oscillator, so I can morph in this case between 4 pretty basic shapes. Of course, you can use your own wavetables. I will stay with this one. But now we have 2 more ways to modify the sound. We can first of all modulate the phase and create phase modulation. And we can process the phasor and create phase distortion. And this is the main idea of this synth. So let's start with phase distortion. Also here we have dedicated modules from VCV. So I will use the phasor shaper. I will take both cables here from the shaper so we can see this also on the scope. Let's also listen to this. Right, again, for now we get just a sine wave, but when I start changing the shape of the phasor, we change the way it reads or scans through the sine in this case. And by doing this, we can shape the sound. And also here we have a few modes. Take a look at the scope, see what happens to the rising saw, to the phasor, and then in turn what happens to the sine. So now we are in curve mode. Right, the saw is no longer a saw, and then it reads through the sine wave differently, and we get phase distortion. We are distorting the phase signal. Right, and we have a few modes. If I don't use a saw, for example, if I use a triangle, you see it reads through the sine differently. We even have here wave folding. Right, again, we are using a saw, but then we are changing the saw. And create wave folding. So this is already the second way for us to shape the sound. We have the wavetable and now also phase distortion. And this setup eventually will have all in all 4 of these oscillators. So let me remove the scope for now and also this cable here. Right, if I hold Control and Shift and D, then I can duplicate this with the cable. So we have 1, 2, and then let's have 2 more. Right, so now we have 4 of these setups all in all. And I would like to mix them with the ability to pan them in the stereo field. So I will use the Venom stereo mixer and then right click it and add the pan expander. So now I can also pan them and of course also modulate the panning. So we have the 4 oscillators, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And this will also go to the output. And now I would like to add also phase modulation and cross-connect the phasors to modulate their phase. And for this we will use a matrix mixer. I will use the one here from 4MS. We will use the 4 outputs of the VCOs. So after the wave shaping and everything, right, we have A, B, C, and D. And then send the 4 outputs back to the phase modulation input and open the attenuverters all the way. Right, and in this case we have 1, 2, 3, and 4. And now I can use each oscillator as a modulation source and as a destination. So for example, if we listen to oscillator 1, I bring it in here on the mixer. Right, so now we listen just to oscillator 1. I can use oscillator 2 to modulate its phase. by using the B1 knob. Again, B is oscillator B, modulating oscillator 1. Right, and of course we can change the tuning of oscillator B in this case. Let's say that we take this an octave down, so instead of C4 it will be C3. Even detune it a bit. Right, and then let's say take oscillator 3 here 2 octaves down, so it will be C2, and then use it to modulate oscillator 2 by using the C2 knob, right? C, oscillator C, modulating oscillator 2. Right, and you can get pretty wild sounds. Of course, this is even before the wave shaping. I can even change the shape here of oscillator 3. Add phase distortion also to oscillator 2, let's say. Let's go with triangle. Right, so now we have even another way of changing the sound. Again, we have the wavetable, we have phase distortion, and now we have also phase modulation. Now I would like to have another way of shaping the sound, and that's with the filter. We'll use the filter from Venom. In this case, we can morph between different shapes. Now the morph control here lets us morph just between low pass, band pass, and high pass, but we have also a notch here, so the final setup will have the ability to morph also to a notch. And then just for fun, I would like to have also some drive or distortion, so this will be with the Surge XT distortion module. But now let me show you the final setup. And this is what the final result looks like. There's the brain section or the engine section, if you will, right? This is more or less the setup we built before with the VCOs, the phasors, the mixer, the filter, the distortion, the matrix mixer. You can see for the filter here, I'm not using the morph output, but I'm using trace to morph between the 4 outputs, so including the notch. Right, so this is really the brain, so again, the engine of everything. And we have the control section and patch bay. There are even modulation inputs here that you can use. So you don't even have to look at the modules we built before, the connection. You can just use this control section, connect modulation and control signals to the patch bay, and just use it from this view. Just for this demo, by the way, I'm using plateau. For now, it's all the way down, so we listen to the dry sound, and I will use my MIDI keyboard to control things. Of course, you can use a sequencer. If you have VCV Pro, you can even sequence this from your DAW, but I will use my MIDI keyboard. So we have a pitch input, we have a gate input, and let's listen for now to oscillator 1. We have here VCO1, VCO2. They have also different colors, but they have the same control. So we have volume control. So now this is just VCO1. I can change the shape of the wavetable with this control here. Can add phase distortion. Right, and again, we have the different modes, and you can see this. We have curve, we have S curves, what was it? Split, triangle. We can even modulate this with an LFO. So again, we have modulation inputs. You can see we have PD or phase distortion mode 1. So modulation oscillator 1. I have here an LFO. And we have a dedicated attenuverter here. Right, so we already have some movement. Now let's bring in oscillator 2. Right, take it an octave down. In this case, we have ratio control, so an octave down will be -2. And use oscillator 1 to modulate its phase. Here we have the phase modulation section. We have VCO1 modulating it. We have feedback, which will be a VCO2 modulating itself. right? Which can create nice noises, but for now I want VCO1 to modulate it. Right, and we can even modulate the amount. So here we have the cross mod section, right? This is connected or controlling the matrix mixer, and I want oscillator 1 to modulate oscillator 2. So I will use this input here, 1 to modulate 2. And we have also to click this button here, which will send the voltage to the matrix mixer. Right, so I click it, and then the knob itself becomes the attenuator, right? So this will become the amount. I can even detune things. So for example, I can detune oscillator 1. Let's take, or let's add also oscillator 3. Take it up an octave, so this will be a ratio of 2. Change its shape. You can even modulate its panning, so here we have pan mode 3, so this will be for oscillator 3. Again with the dedicated attenuator. I'm using a unipolar modulation signal, that's why I'm taking the pan all the way left and the attenuator all the way right. This is a good time maybe to add some reverb. Maybe open the filter a bit. And now we can have oscillator 4 modulating oscillator 3. So again, I go to oscillator 3, to the phase modulation section, and we have VCO4. Maybe take VCO4 2 octaves down, so a ratio of 4. Detune it. Again, we don't listen to oscillator 4, we're just using it as a modulator. And I can modulate its shape and phase distortion. So we have shape for CV and phase distortion mode 4. Again, open the attenuators. Maybe go with folding. And again, we have, of course, we have the envelope if you want something a bit more plucky. Right, for now I want something a bit longer, and we have the filter. Again, we can morph between low pass, band pass, high pass, and notch. Right, and of course modulate things. So let me close the filter all the way down, and let's have cutoff modulation and morph modulation, maybe with different traits. Open the attenuators. And of course we have also drive. No. Yes, and that's the setup more or less. You can really experiment with it and create all sorts of sounds. There's a link in the description to where you can get it. Thanks again for watching. Cheers.